Hey, this is Matt Stang, CEO of Delic Corp, and catch me on the Jesse T Show.
Matt Stang, welcome back to the Jesse T Show, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Man, it's great connecting with you again. And we're working through some technical difficulties, and we're here, and we are present, and we are powerful. And we talked a little bit before about what you've done, what you're working on today. But there was a big point that I didn't cover, and I'm glad that we're doing this again because I really want to get that insight. Tell the world a little bit how you started off as an intern and became the owner at High Times, one of the biggest publications of its kind in that industry that's so powerful, been around for so many decades. How'd you become the owner of that company?
Sure. It's a fun story and one that starts in college, like most people's cannabis careers. I wrote my senior thesis in college about marijuana decriminalization in a time of terror. It was obviously just after 9/11, and I lived in New York, so it's a big part of my and my thesis was that if you took the economic rewards, the taxes, and you took away the economic costs, the police and jail, you'd have a giant pool of money that could convince the conservative folks that it was worth either legalizing or decriminalizing cannabis, right? This was 2002, 2001, 2002. I wrote this very long, very intricate paper because I believed in it strongly. And I was supposed to get quotes from primary sources. So I went out through a friend of a friend, knew the general counsel at High Times, the person who ran the legal department at High Times, and much more for 20 plus years at that point. And so I went out to him for a quote. He was away in Italy. Didn't actually get me the quote, but apparently read it, came back, said, "Hey, do you still need that?" I was like, "No, it's too late. I already submitted." He said, "Well, you know what? That was really interesting. You did a really good job. Do you want an internship? Are you interested in just coming in?" And I had literally graduated from college 5 days before that. And I was like, "I'm not opposed. I have a trip to Amsterdam." That was my graduation gift, was a trip to Amsterdam for 3 weeks.
Nice.
As one would do when it was the only place that was legal and enjoys cannabis. And so he said, "No problem. We actually need some help with taking back this event in Amsterdam called the Cannabis Cup. So you can help with that too." And
wow.
I started as essentially a collections person. So I was collecting old advertising debt and selling classified advertising.
Sexy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whatever I could do to be a part of like the only legal job in cannabis, I will.
Yes.
And yeah, I went over to Amsterdam that summer, kind of interacted with all the folks in the legal cannabis industry over there, got them back on board to do the Cannabis Cup as a full event. It had kind of died off for a little while there because we had an outsourced party that blew it up. And really, just sold advertising, collected a bunch of bad debt, and spent a lot of time working on building the sales department of High Times. Wow. And worked my way up through there, became the director of that department of called the marketing and sales arm of High Times. And in 2010, one of the owners was looking to sell his position. So I came in, bought his position, and then, kept being that driving force, brought the Cannabis Cup to America that year for the first time, increased it to, 14 events by 2015. a year, and turned it into a massive $20 million a year business.
Talk about the Cannabis Cup a little bit, because I don't know what it is. I've heard you talk about it a couple of times. It sounds profound and amazing and immersive. What is it?
Yeah, sure. So it is the original, call it, gathering event for cannabis. It is a place where people go to learn more, talk about it. You know, before there was segmentation and specialization in the cannabis market, it was the first general purpose cannabis event. What did it do? It took the best weed and decided, kind of judged the best weed from around the whichever space we're doing it, whether it's Amsterdam or California or any of these different areas, Colorado, Michigan, blah blah blah. And so we'd have a competition for the best cannabis, hash, nowadays vaporizers, edibles, tinctures, all these kind of things. And then we'd have a 2-day event with, at one point, 600, 700 booths on the ground.
Wow.
40, 50,000 people walking around, consuming cannabis. There's musical performances at night. So it's kind of a trade show party all rolled into one, around celebration of the cannabis plant. And, you know, it built out the real economic part of the cannabis market before it existed, right? When it was still underground and scared, we did large scale events where people would come together and cross pollinate and network and build businesses, and, you know, all the things that help make an industry an industry.
It's a lot there, man. And, you know, I won't get too into the weeds because I know we want to talk about some things you're working on today, but just in terms of, you obviously had the belief, you know, that's the biggest thing. I've been in sales pretty much my whole life. And if I believe in something, it's the passion just kind of oozes out of me and I become an evangelist, right? Especially for plant medicines, you know, which we'll get into, talking more towards psychedelic plant medicines. But for you coming out of college, and like you said, you know, being a user of cannabis and wanting to be in this industry to some degree, obviously the passion and the belief was there, but how does that translate over in a process standpoint or in a functionality standpoint where you can go from intern to growing revenue lines of up to $20 million? What do you think it was about your zone of genius, your ability, relationship skills, operational skills, managerial skills? What is your superpower or superpowers that helped you do that, to go from intern to such a force within a company?
You know, I think it's really just understanding where opportunities and people connect, right? It's understanding how to make things win-win for people and give people real value. Because if you're going to do this, you got to build it around real value. And I think that was a big part of what we delivered, was just a lot of value for companies that had no real outlets. And so it was a huge opportunity for companies that were kind of, you know, criminalized, shit on, not allowed to put their stuff anywhere, to have a platform.
Yep.
And we created a platform to allow underrepresented businesses a chance to shine. And I think that was the key thing. And a lot of it was just us pushing, you know, medical marijuana, healing plant medicine, kind of cannabis products in a way that amplified it out to the world. And you saw it was, you know, we'd amplify it out, people would pick it up, they would get amplified further, and then now it's a talking point. Now marijuana is safer than alcohol, right? That's something